Before we get started with today's episode, I want to talk to you all about something I'm very, very excited about. We have a new sponsor on this podcast, and that sponsor is Wedflow. John, have you heard of Wedflow before?
Just a couple times, because you won't stop talking about them. I mean, literally every day, it's like Wedflow this, Wedflow that. Nick loves this company.
It is true. I have been, before they signed on to the sponsor, I've been using Wedflow for about 4 months or so. If you have no clue what Wedflow is, they are an online digital delivery system for your wedding films. Okay, some of you, we see questions in our Facebook group all the time. How do you deliver films to your clients? How do you get it to them? You know, that sort of thing. And Wedflow is your answer. Okay, I know John, one of the reasons that he switched to Wedflow was because of his old system of delivering in.
Hey,
John, why don't you talk about that for a second?
So here's the thing. I'm charging a premium for my weddings. And so I never jumped on the train of other companies. And for some reason, like, I've just always delivered via Dropbox, just a link. It's ugly. It's not branded. And what Wedflow is basically the luxury version of delivering these products, delivering your digital products. And so moving into the new year, I wanted to be able to represent my brand completely across all platforms instead of just delivering a YouTube link or a Dropbox link. Wedflow does it all. It makes it seamless to fit into my website. Everything about it is so easy and makes it very, very presentable for our couples. I love it, and I can't wait to show off my 2020 brides Wedflow.
Yeah, so in Wedflow, what you can do is you can brand all of your content, so you have your logo on it. You can change the colors. They've just added custom fonts, so you can change the font so that it'll fit your style. You can, one of the big things that I actually is my favorite thing about Wedflow is it is pay per project. So that means that you can only use it sparingly. You're not paying a massive subscription fee for a year's worth of stuff, and you're only using half of the content, half of your gigabytes, half of your upload. So you actually pay per content. Pay for your content. You're not locked into a contract, and you're paying per gigabyte, and they have deals the more that you need. They can deliver in 4K, so you can upload 4K and deliver 4K. It is great. You can embed the finished product on your website if you want to do that, or you can do private links that are password protected, so that the only people that can open them are the people with the password. Anyway, I am a huge fan of Wedflow, and like I said, before they sponsored us, I've been using it for a few months. I am so excited to have them on board. If you would like more information about Wedflow and what they can do for you and your business, head over to howtofilmweddings.com/Wedflow.
So you could be discouraged or you could be determined. And looking at guys like you, White and Reverie, Forestry Films, Matt Johnson, these incredible storytellers and cinematographers, and saying, I'm going to be determined to be better. I'm going to swallow my pride, ask them for help, and grow.
Hello and welcome to the How to Film Weddings podcast. My name is John Bunn, and today I'm joined by my good friend Nick Miller. Nick, what is up in your world, my friend?
Dude, not a whole lot, just recording. I have one more wedding for 2019, and then we are done for a few more months. I'm really excited about a little bit of a break. And as we're recording this, it is my birthday week. So I'm excited that, my birthday is coming up soon. Yeah. My birthday this year is on Thanksgiving. So, when you're listening to this a couple weeks after Thanksgiving, just be thankful for me in the past.
They can send all the gifts to your Instagram. Just follow Nick, on Instagram, send all the gifts his way. Digital gifts, please. Tax,
Are you saying GIF or gift?
Gift.
Okay.
Send the birthday gifts or gifts. I mean, whatever,
I would prefer a gift over a GIF, but
Speaking of gift, today's episode is a gift.
It is a gift. Yes.
We recorded with Jake Weisler, our good friend. He's been on once before, and we talked today about something that I think is really cool. I've been messaging him since our podcast. We've been talking about his packages and raising his prices, and he's gone from maxing out at around $4,000 for a wedding film. The most he can charge was $4,000 for his diamond package, to now starting out at $4,000 and having an unlimited cap by changing a few things. So the episode is so much fun. It's so great to hear him. He compliments me and Nick a lot, so we like that, of course. So it was a really awesome episode. It will challenge you to think about the way you do things. And so buckle up. It's going to be a good episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast.
Let's go.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jake Weisler, for being on the podcast. This is your second time on our podcast, but for those of out there that hadn't listened or don't know who you are, why don't you take just a brief minute, kind of explain who you are, where you're located, all those good things.
Okay. Yeah. My name is Jake Weisler, Salt Lake City, Utah, currently. Been filming weddings for coming up on 3 years, so I'm pretty new to the industry. I've been doing it professionally, I'd say, for 2.5 years, and as a full-time job. Utah's a great place for weddings, especially to get started doing weddings. There's so many here. So I started doing that, and then just within the last, I think, year and a half, I've kind of taken my business to go from just kind of like a wedding videographer to a wedding filmmaker, if you will, kind of creating those more higher end destination weddings, which is what I would like to do, as opposed to kind of just these smaller local ones. So within the last year and a half, especially this last year, 2019, I've been focusing on branding myself as a destination wedding filmmaker, as opposed to just like a wedding videographer, if that makes sense. I know it's kind of like same word, different things, but that's how I kind of define it.
That's
so it's a little bit about me. Yeah.
And so when we talked to you last, it was earlier this year. You're getting ready to get going on the 2019 wedding season. As we're recording, the year's kind of coming to an end. What did 2019 look like for you? How many weddings, kind of your cost per wedding? Give us a little bit of kind of a recap on 2019.
Sure. So 2019, great year, learned a lot. I think I've just finished my wedding season. I have one more at the end of next month. It's a small one, but I think I did about up to 30 weddings this year. And my average price, I'd say average is about $3,000, $3,000 to $4,000 without, travel and stuff. My packaging system this year started off at, like the diamond, gold, silver, bronze type of layout, which I thought was like the only and best way to price yourself. And so I was booking that top package often, the 4,000 package. And I was just kind of making every package different based on length, based on hours of coverage, based on video length. And I just felt like I was wasting a lot of time with clients trying to figure out how to specify this package that I had preset to their wedding day, because every wedding's so different. And so early this year, I was talking to John and talking about pricing, and he just said, like, you got to go with the base packaging system, where essentially the client builds their package, right? Where they look at your stuff and they decide what they want, and they add on the toppings, and you don't have to worry about it because they decide. So I switched to that, and I started, instead of peaking at $4,000, my base package started at $4,000. And ever since then, I'd say from the summer onward, I've been booking upwards to $5,000 to $7,000 weddings, which for me is huge right now.
To anyone, that's huge.
And I just got my very first $8,000 elopement based on some of the things that John did in his packaging, the FOMO edits, the weekend wedding stuff. And so ideally, hopefully with 2020 around the corner, I can average around $8,000 and hopefully get up to about $10,000 a wedding by the end of next year. That's kind of the goal right now. So a lot of growth. It's taken a lot of work, a lot of humbling, a lot of kind of resetting of habits I have to kind of say, if I'm going to be an $8,000 wedding videographer, I got to make some changes to my business. I got to improve some certain things, upgrade some certain things, and remove some other things. So it's been an awesome year. It's been a lot of growth, and really appreciative of a lot of mentors I have to kind of like help me, guide me through that, who've been doing it for 5, 10, 15 years. Just titans in the industry who've been helping me out with that.
Yeah, man, that's amazing. So for those of you that don't know kind of Jake's story, I mean, he when he started, he kind of took off, right away. And last time we talked, I mean, you said in your first year of business, you made 6 figures, right? But you were close to that.
Barely,
yeah.
Yep.
But you were doing.
You did it.
I mean, you're like barely, but still, there's lots of people in our industry that aren't doing that. But you were you were doing, charging, 15 to 2,000 per wedding and shooting, 55 a year or something, crazy like that.
Yeah.
I know in your area, when we talked to Kaylor, I know it's a little bit different in the Utah area from a lot of other parts of the country, but still you were doing that. And so you're saying that, in a 3-year period, you've gone from, sub 2,000. Now you just booked an $8,000 package. And that's amazing. That's really a testament to your work, and also just working hard and doing it. So many of us, I think, we get bogged down in thinking, I can never do that because we're in the I just want to be good now. I want to charge now, and we don't work through it and figure out and have mentors and talk to people that can really excel in your business. So that's amazing that you've been able to do that in a short time. So,
and just to go off that, earlier this year, before I talked to John about different pricing structure methods, I did try to raise my prices to $5,000-$6,000, and nothing happened. Business just dropped. Inquiry just stopped responding. And I was like, okay, I'm missing something here. And it was my branding. It was the type of videos I was doing. Just little things that, justify that extra spend. And so I lowered them back down, talked to John, figured out a better pricing structure, figured out a better way to create videos. And so I totally agree. I think you can't just say I want to be worth this much. You have to look around and see how can I be worth that much? And it took a while.
Yeah, and I think that whenever talking with Jake over the last year, we've texted a bunch and messaged a bunch, and it was really cool. And I want to spend a lot of the time today kind of talking about, this time last year you were maxing out at 4K, and now you're starting at 4K for your films. And so a couple of those things that I saw, and first of all, it's very, exciting for me to hear that somebody is, listening to what we're doing and it's working and it's humbling. And, someone, would look at Jake and say he has arrived. He's got a big Instagram following. He's got, all these things figured out. People want to know from him, but he was still just reaching out and saying, hey, what are you doing here? How can I get better here? And he was inquiring with people, he's talking about mentors in his life, saying, how do you do this better? And I think that that's something that I've seen with some of the people that we've talked to over the year, is that the people that humbled themselves and say, I don't know how to do this well. I humbled myself and said, I don't know how to do studio lighting well, or I don't know how to do Kelvin setting well. And my films got better because I just asked and said, hey, how do you do this to somebody that I respected?
Exactly.
And so it's music to my ears to hear that you're charging this much. And I want to break down and talk about kind of 2020, and then walk into and kind of talk a little bit more about what things, tangible things did you do this year, based on, the packages that you do, the branding you've talked about. And so we'll try to really unpack a lot of this for the listeners. So talking about 2020, where do you sit right now with, you said you're hoping to get to a certain spot, but do you have kind of a number of weddings that you've already booked and kind of the range and all that good stuff yet?
Yeah, so I have 15 weddings booked for 2020. I'm hoping to keep it around 15. I don't know if I want to, unless a big one comes up. I think I'm good with 15. Hopefully in 2021 I can do 10 to 12, ideally. Maybe some more, but in the average, a lot of the weddings for next year were booked earlier this year, so the prices are a little bit lower. $2,000-$3,000, maybe $4,000 on a few of them. With a few of them being bookings I've had these last few months, upwards of $7,000 to $8,000. And I'm pretty good with that right now. If I can get a few more for next year, I'd be okay. A lot of my time is being spent I work for full-time filmmaker and creating educational content. So I'd like to focus more on that next year, and just let these few weddings kind of carry me through. So I think for next year, I think I'm going to keep it to about 15.
Nick, we'll see next year at this time if he's been offered $10,000, $11,000 for 6 or 7 more weddings. He's like, yeah, I did 24 weddings this year.
So
we'll see.
Can I jump in and say something? So Jake has just talked about talking to John about pricing and stuff. And I know we've done several podcasts about raising your pricing and all of that kind of stuff. But I also, listening to John, I have recently booked an $8,500 package and a $7,700 package, in my area. So if any of you out there are like, man, how do I do this? How do I structure this? Like, really listen to John, because he does know what he's talking about. Seriously.
Guys, I did not.
John is the titan of the industry.
I literally did not set this episode up to just, pander me, or like for pandering. I didn't do
accept the compliment, John.
You gladly will take it.
I am good.
You will gladly take it.
I am good. Yes.
Yes,
I am very good at it. And it turns out the secret to selling more is being somebody that people like. I mean, that's all you need to know.
One thing I'd like to also touch on, especially as you get into that higher price point, what are some of the things that you've been focusing on to maybe give a more high-end experience, or what kind of things are you thinking about? Is it just website? Right. Is it just communication? Is it even what you're wearing? What are the things that you're really focusing on to give that this is an $8,000 wedding package to your client?
Sure. So there are a few tactical things I'd love to jump into, but first thing is just humility. I know it's kind of like a vague principle, but my dad always taught me, like, if you can look at other people and be discouraged and say, oh, they're way better than I am, I'm not even going to try. So you could be discouraged or you could be determined. And looking at guys like you, White and Reverie, Forestry Films, Matt Johnson, these incredible storytellers and cinematographers, and saying, I'm going to be determined to be better. I'm going to swallow my pride, ask them for help, and grow. So that was the first thing that earlier this year I was like, I need to grow. I need to apply things that people are doing who are, better than me, and just accepting that fact. And then, doing different things. I try to dress a little bit fancier now. I don't dress like the help or like a casual videographer bro. I dress professionally. I communicate professionally. I try to respond. All the weddings I've booked at the $7,000 to $8,000 range, I've sent my pricing to a lot of couples who've inquired, but the ones who have booked have been the people I've responded to within an hour. And maybe there's a correlation. Maybe the other ones just couldn't afford me, whatever. But I believe that it's that, customer service that makes them attracted to me. While they're on my website watching videos and I respond right then, while they're still feeling it, I think that played a huge part in just,
Yeah, I agree. That's huge.
Being worth my price. Huge, the pricing structure just looks so much more professional. The base packaging, it just gives them more control, which I think alludes to a higher quality experience as a client. Faster turnaround times, better storytelling in my edits, better shooters with me on my films. Next year, I think I'm going to be outsourcing all of my editing to people who can do it better than me, and just kind of building that into my pricing so that I can free up more time to focus on cinematography and client communication and stuff like that. And then just always being professional at weddings. I think there's a fine line between being personable and being professional. I've seen extremes of both. I've seen videographers and photographers be way too professional and kind of leave their client feeling like a guinea pig stranger, if you will. And I've seen videographers and photographers be way too personable and make their client kind of feel awkward about, like, well, what if I don't like what you're doing? Now, like, we're friends and it's awkward to tell you. So I think learning that line and making sure you're always being professional, but also being very personable and loving to your clients, because they're spending a lot of money on me. And so I want to make sure that they're always comfortable enough to let me know if they don't feel like their money's being spent well. And I want them to feel comfortable telling me that. Hasn't happened yet. So I think just communicating professionally and being personable, and also not just to the client, but to all the vendors involved, their DJ, their photographer, their wedding planner, the venue host, like whoever it is, their family, being professional to everyone and leaving a good taste in everybody's mouth, I think has also given me the confidence to raise my prices.
I'll jump in there and say, like, there's so many different factors, to be charging over $10,000 for wedding films. There's just being in the business for a while. The longer you're in, the better relationships you make. Mm-hmm. And then just like when you go to Jake's website, like you can just tell if somebody is legit or if somebody is like trying to figure it out, and the vibe, the feel, the X factor, whatever that is, you're just like, whoa, this guy is good. He has, the pictures of him on the website are good. The videos that you're showcasing, the color, everything. And so there's just a ton that goes into being this brand. You go to Nick's website and it's like, wow, he and Jen, like they put off this vibe. It's like they know their stuff. They're professional. And like that matters so much down to your logo choice and your font types. We've talked about it a lot on the podcast, but it's different. Like you just have to have some type of thing that makes you stand out, that is different than just a solid cookie cutter wedding film or a cookie cutter website and so you don't want to attract everybody. And we've talked about all these things on the podcast, but like you go to Jake's website and you see, oh my goodness, like this footage is amazing and it's branded around him and he comes across as like a very cool person on his site, and you want to like, it's like, I want to reach out to this person. Like there's a vibe and a feel. And there's a lot of websites, Little Long Distance or Brothers Martins or White and Reverie or Eric Floberg, or you start talking about some of these people and it's just like they all have different feels, but it's them infused, and it's so much easier to like know if you want to reach out and book. And that's different than price shopping. At a certain point, if you have that vibe and you have those referrals, people go to your website and they're like, I just want to book this guy because he is the best. Like he's the best for me, I can tell. Right. And so there's so much that goes into that. And so, just going through your site, preparing for this, it's just like, man, he's got his, like, you don't have to be 7 or 8 years into business to do this right. I mean, it's a pretty, like when you just take a step back and look at it, like if you have your stuff together, if you have your branding on, and if your message is clear, you can raise your prices consistently year over year.
And Philip White taught me that in his masterclass. He talks about the smoke and mirrors, about how like your videos need to be a certain level of quality, but you have to show it in a certain way. You got to sell them on it, And so I think the biggest thing I've been trying to focus on my website this year has been consistency on every page and every video, in the fonts. I've talked to John a lot about fonts, and just using everything to consistently build a brand that people feel like they know what they're going to get back. As opposed to like, well, like some of his videos are different, so let's see what we get. Like, no, like they have to trust me from the get-go. So that's been important too.
Yeah, that's huge. I, as you're talking about all these things, and I'm still coming back to the higher end thing, because I think everyone definitely wants to get into more of that, higher, charging more and like that kind of stuff. But if you take this and you're thinking of, let's say a car, if you go to a car and you spend, $12,000 on a little car that gets you, it doesn't have power windows, it doesn't have power locks, it doesn't have, any of that stuff. And you're like, well, I just spent $12,000, just a little, brand new car, but it's, it's base, like you're not expecting that stuff. But if you walk into some place that you're getting a Lexus or a Jaguar or, some of these higher end kind of cars, and it says, oh, all this one it doesn't have power windows, it doesn't have it doesn't have any of that stuff. You're like, well, something's missing here. Like I'm paying for this name, but I'm missing a bunch of stuff. And so whenever you take a step into this world where you can charge more money, then that means that your customer service game has to take a step up. Your website game has to take a step up. You have to have this feel and this consistency with your work. And so that's great that you're, I don't know. I just think I'm amazed at how you've been able to accomplish so much over the last couple of years. It's just amazing, and you understand that and get that. So again, great work. I'm great job.
Thank you.
Medium work.
And I think a lot of that is in John's pricing sheet, which really inspired me, was just offering more. My pricing had just so little on it. Like there wasn't a whole lot of customization. There wasn't a whole lot of add-ons unless they specifically asked for it. I didn't have it, available. And then just adding just tons of add-ons, like a weekend wedding, the FOMO edit, extra days of coverage, just like random little things, just kind of showed like, wow, he can do so much for us. And I've like, wow, the more I put on there, people book it. Like right when I put the weekend wedding on, which is like 2 extra days of coverage, like if you want the day before and the day after covered for like a party or whatever, I put that on and I got 2 people booked it right away. And I was like, what the one in Hawaii and one in I think Italy. And I was like, well, why haven't I been
casually,
you know what I mean? So
just
like,
dropping in Hawaii and Italy, like
I'm so excited.
Italy's both great places.
2021.
They are both great places.
Yeah, just offering more for the client, doing more for them. And what you were saying, some videographers I think just don't want to do it. Some videographers want to be charging a lot, but they don't really want to put in the work to do it. They don't want to be filming, or they don't want the pressure of these high-end destination weddings because the stakes are a lot higher and they need to perform a lot better. And sadly, I'm seeing a lot of people wanting that $8,000 price, but not really wanting to do the $8,000 quality.
Right.
Yeah.
So you gotta be willing to put the work in.
I was going to say, for the listeners, why don't you unpack a little bit of what your pricing structure looks like?
Sure.
We're assuming that they may have already listened or whatever, but since we've had a lot of podcasts since are raising your prices and stuff, why don't you kind of talk about what you're saying when you say you have a base package kind of system?
Sure.
What does it look like? What do they get for that base? And then what do you have as add-ons?
Okay, sure. So I started my brochure. I was talking to John again. The
we
living
talk
legend.
a lot. I'm not going to lie. Jake asks questions.
And at first I was like, you know what? Another mentor of mine, he doesn't really charge for hours of coverage. He just says, I'm there. I'm at your day. I booked the day. You get me for the day. I'll show up and leave when I need to. And I kind of liked how simple that sounded, because I was like, oh, there's no arguing about, well, what's an hour of coverage? What if we have a break? You know what I mean? So I was like kind of going that route. But then John's like, hours of coverage, that's where I make all my money. And I was like, you know what? After doing a 12-hour wedding day and getting paid the same amount I did for a 8-hour wedding day, I was like, yeah, I'm going to charge for hours. So I started my base at $4,000. I'll just read it off here. In my base, I do a 5-minute film. That just comes with the base package. A 5-minute film, 8 hours of coverage, which I've never really booked anything less than that unless it's like an elopement, which I have another pricing for. So 5-minute film, 8 hours of coverage. All my packages come with a second videographer just because I need one. Drone coverage is included in the base package just because some venues have it or allow it, some don't. So I just thought, you know what, I'm going to just include it. And then the video will be delivered within 2 months. And then you can add on extra hours. You can add on a 7-minute film instead of a 5-minute film for an extra $1,000. You could add on a 10-minute film, which is my most popular, for an extra $1,700. You could add on a feature film, like 15 to 20 minutes. I've only booked one of those. It's the Italy one for $2,500. And then you can have a third videographer for an extra fee. Just kind of adding to the base package. So just kind of building that base, adjusting everything that's already included, basically.
And how do you go, so someone inquires, I know there's a couple more things you probably have on there, but I don't mean to cut you off. If somebody inquires with you, do you initially send them all of this? Do you kind of start out with, this is what you get? How are you working that? Mm-hmm. Are they starting out booking 8,000, or are they starting out booking and then you're adding more later?
Yeah. So this recent Hawaii one, she reached out and I charged her. She only wanted 4 hours of coverage, so I just did $3,000 for a 5-minute film. And she's like, okay, I'm kind of looking at some of these other packages, and I like the base. We'll just go with the base. I was like, well, let's hop on a call. I could answer any questions you have. So she loved that. We jumped on the call. Within 10 minutes, she booked me for the weekend wedding, 2 extra hours, and a highlight trailer, which came out to be about $8,000 total. Just by kind of talking her through and saying like, hey, well, how do you envision your wedding? Like, you're doing this destination wedding and you want me just to be there for 4 hours? Like, what else are you doing? She's like, we're doing a luau, doing a reception dinner. I was like, do you want that covered? And she's like, yeah, that's why I was kind of looking at your weekend wedding. I was like, let's freaking do it. And she's like, okay, I would love it. And booked it. It was pretty easy. So like under the base stuff, I have like an a la carte section, which has like wedding trailers, ceremony edits, rehearsal dinners, FOMOs, wedding weekends, like all of that. And so when I send them my pricing, I just kind of tell them like, yeah, like start off at the base. Like if you need anything on the base customized, if you don't think you need 8 hours, let me know. Like I'm happy to adjust it for you. I've never had anybody change the base. They just usually add on to it. So far, I've only been rocking this for a few months now, a half a year, and I love it. It's been working awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, that's good. I just wanted to give the kind of a reference point for the listener if they're like, wait, what does he do? How do we? I want in on that. So So yeah, I mean, I love this
talk to
topic.
John.
Yeah, just send me a message. We'll do a mentor session. Just howtofilmweddings.com/mentorships, or is it ship, Nick? I can't remember.
Sponsored.
One of those.
Okay, one of those. Just you'll find us. Do you remember that wedding from a month ago? Yeah, like that one that you needed to start editing yesterday. But you also need to prep today for your wedding tomorrow, and you're leaving for your first vacation in forever on Monday. So what do? It seems that the only creative part of your edits are the excuses you're going to have to give your clients. We have the solution, Wedditor. Wedditor is a team of top wedding editors, project managers, and account coordinators that help us wedding filmmakers edit. They match the right editors with your style so you can spend your time where it matters most, on your business. Nick and I both use Wedditor, and we don't know how we would run our companies without them. It takes a team to build an amazing business, and you shouldn't try to do it all on your own. Head over to howtofilmweddings.com/Wedditor to help you free up your time so that you can focus on growing your brand. Be sure to use promo code HTFW for $50 off your first project. Wedditor, more than freelance, more than outsourcing.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about a couple of things, tangible things, when talking about 4K. I know we kind of hit on those, or starting at 4K now instead of ending at 4K.
Right.
Tips for someone that is wanting to continue to raise their prices. What tangible things, if someone out there listening is in their second or third year or whatever, kind of a similar situation, and says, I've maxed out at 4,000, what things do I need to be thinking about, down to clothes I'm wearing all the way to, package, anything, any tips you have for those people?
Yeah, I think my first question to everyone who asks me that question is, how's business going? Are you overbooking? If you're not, if you feel like you're still not filling up your calendar, then you gotta make some changes before you raise your prices. And then I'll take a look at their films and say, okay, how well are you showing off their wedding day? Because it's hard. I think it's just kind of that it factor, that the eye for it. Sometimes you're trying to. I watch these wedding videos and I say, like, they look great, by the book, they're great videos. The music's beautiful, the visuals are beautiful, but you don't connect somehow. You know what I mean? There's not that personal connection to the wedding couple. My favorite videos are when I can't stop watching because I feel like I'm there at the wedding. I feel like I'm tied to the couple, I'm tied to their venue, I'm tied to their details. And so I think my first tip to everyone who's trying to raise their prices is really evaluate their videos and say, are you showing their wedding day and not just them? Are you showing off their wedding day and their love in the best possible way and not just showing off your skills as a videographer, if that makes sense? It's kind of a gray area, but that's how my mind works. And I say, and then also, how are you communicating with your clients? Are you being personable? What's your website look like? How are you talking to them when they first inquire? Are you excited that they inquired? Do you treat them right? How do you present yourself on the wedding day? Are you professional? Do you work well with others? And usually the people who are constantly complaining about photographers are the ones who aren't booking a lot. Because they're so caught up on someone else's job, they don't focus on their job. So I talk about that and I say, listen, you guys got to make sure you're doing your job the best you can and not letting everyone else ruin that for you. It's not about them. It's about the couple, about their wedding. Do your job. So that's some of the first piece of advice, if that answers your question.
That's huge.
It's kind of a vague area for me.
It definitely is, but focusing on yourself and your business rather than what everyone else is doing is so hard. But there's a reason why people that have been in this industry for a long time, that's advice that you keep coming back to. And I think it's, just one of those things you have to work through, because when you first get started, you're so obsessed with all these other filmmakers that you want to be like one day. And so you're trying to emulate them, or you compare yourself to them, or you just want them to notice you, or, whatever. But the moment that you can say, okay, my client is who I'm working for, that's who I'm focusing on. I'm trying to tell their story, and I don't care what anyone else is doing. Maybe I'm aware of what other people are doing, but it's not like what they're doing doesn't doesn't drastically affect me, then that
Right.
is whenever you can start taking those steps to take your business, your filmmaking, whatever, to the next level. So that's a great point. I'm glad that you've figured that out.
I was going to ask, where do you see most of your weddings, the inquiries coming from, especially the ones that are spending more money?
Instagram right now. I'm seeing about, I'd say 70, 80% of my inquiries coming through Instagram. The hashtags I use, the promotions I do. I'm trying to target more wedding planners. And so a lot of my higher end weddings are less of the bride coming to me and more of a wedding planner coming to me, which I prefer in the long run just because great relationship to, get more clients. And then the rest, I've been uploading only my best videos to YouTube. Usually I just put them on Vimeo. But I've been putting some of my best ones on YouTube on my channel, and I've grown to a little over 1,000 subscribers, and I've been seeing a lot of inquiries, more and more, come from YouTube.
Yes. I was asking that question, hoping you would say, obviously we know Instagram, and we'll talk hopefully about that. We did in the last episode about Instagram with you and growing over 25,000, followers at this point, which is awesome. But I was hoping you would answer something to do with relationships and planners and things like that. And I can't stress enough, there's so many of us, and I talked about it with Lindsay and Cherish in our podcast with LaRev. There's just so many of us that are so focused on wedding filmmakers only that we forget to engage with other types of vendors, especially other photographers and planners. And you're always on, like, you should always be your brand. Like, you shouldn't just be thinking like, I'm John Bunn, I'm just going to show up and kind of be chill and whatever. You should be thinking, hopefully you're not thinking you're John Bunn, but insert your name.
Well, I wish.
But yeah, no, sorry guys, there's only one of me. But you should always be kind of like thinking, what is it that I want people to think about my brand? I always have to be that when I'm around people, the way I talk, the way I type, everything. And then when you get the chance to connect with some of these wedding planners that maybe, are doing these high-end weddings, what are they going to think of you when it's all said and done? What kind of work, or do they see? Do they like working with you? Or were you that awkward video guy that produced a really cool product, but like they don't want to work with you? So like, why don't you talk a little bit about your relationships with other vendors real quick? What's that look like?
Sure. I personally love photographers. They've become some of my best friends and some of my most lucrative friends. I work well with one, and we just want to keep working together. So they just say, hey, listen, because videography just isn't, I wish it was, but it's still not 100% a need for weddings. At least it's not viewed that way yet by a lot of people. And so one of these weddings recently, I made a great relationship with the venue. John, I sent you the first video at that River Bottoms Ranch, that beautiful white venue. My first time is a new venue. I introduced myself to the host, of the owner of the venue, talked to her for a long time. She loved the video, put it on her website. And within a few days, I got a last-minute $5,000 inquiry for someone getting married in 2 weeks at that venue. And they said, we didn't think we wanted a video. After watching it, we need one. And then they just messaged me, and they said, best money we spent was on you. And that just I was like, dang. So now I'm just trying to make sure I'm always communicating with the vendors and always like the wedding planners and the venue hosts. Because these venue people, they want to show your work. They want to show off their venue. And so I'm getting a lot more inquiries from that ranch because they're putting my videos on their website now and saying
That's
not
so
only
good.
is he one of our preferred vendors quality wise, we love working with Jake. Recently, me and this wedding planner connected over Instagram, had similar styles, really connected really well. And she's determined to book a couple with me. She sent me 3 very high paying New York weddings. And I've been unavailable for all 3 of them, but she's determined to get me a client. And I'm like, and we just have this awesome relationship now.
I didn't see the inquiry pointed towards me. I didn't get like the forwarded email. Was that in my junk mail or?
Yeah, let me, somewhere.
I got a misconnection. Something's going wrong with the internet.
It might be, let me, Kaylor might have got, I'll let you know. So, and also photographers that I love, like I've made some great friends. And recently I've just been trying to make sure like we have a great experience. This last wedding I just did in California, I love the photographer. We had so much in common, and they were so fun. And they want to hire me for their wedding, and the photographer so there's two teams, and it was awesome. So I think just like what John said, and like, you're always on, you can't just choose who you're friends with. You need to be personable to everyone if you want to succeed. And if you want to get to the $8,000, $10,000, even $5,000 point, you got to make connections. This industry is huge with connections. A lot of my inquiries come from referrals from photographers, pointing their couples to Instagram, or from vendors. And if you're not dressing professionally, if you're not communicating professionally, and if you're not kind of stepping out of your shy comfort zone, which I know a lot of us have, and being confident with people, you won't get there. That's the hard truth, but that's how it is.
That's good.
Good stuff there. So now we're going to shift to our question of the day, presented by Wedditor. Wedditor, more than freelance, more than outsourcing. And this question is from Danielle Linder, and she asks, as a new person, there's such a learning curve and seems like a million things to work on and figuring out. What would you recommend as the most important thing a new person should focus on when getting their business started?
Good question, Danielle.
Great question. I hate being this guy, but two things.
Two things with three subpoints.
Two things, A, B, C through G. To me, and again, all I have is my own experience.
Sure,
I can't say what's best. I just have my own history. And for me, it's mentorship, number one. Find someone who's better than you. Let them teach you. Let them show you. Let them guide you. My mentor was Parker Welbeck when I first started, and not really a wedding guy. Great filmmaker, but not a wedding guy. And so my style was his style at the beginning. And so after a year, I decided, you know what, I want to be like these guys. And so I had to find new mentors, and those mentors were crucial in my success, helping me just improve in my storytelling, in my cinematography, and my business was just insane. So mentorship, find yourself a great mentor, or, mentors come in a lot of ways. Join Facebook groups. This Facebook group's amazing. There's so many just informative educational places and online courses out there. Everyone's doing one. Find yourself one of those and stick to it and apply what you learn. Mentorship. And number two is branding. I think I wish I would have taken branding seriously my first year. It was kind of my second priority, which I was focused on other things, which were good, but presenting myself in a better way, not just on my website and Instagram, but in person. My first few weddings, I was wearing t-shirts and jeans to weddings. I was wearing, just like little things that I wasn't focusing on. And I really wish I would have, because I think I would have been able to grow a lot faster that first year. I grew pretty fast, but I'm saying, like, I think I would have been able to get a lot further my first year if I would have paid more attention to how I brand myself. So mentorship and branding would be my two
The whole
tips.
episode is worth it just for those two tips. Great question, Danielle. And so I was going to say, like, you have stepped into education. You mentioned full-time filmmaker. You do some stuff there with their... I want to talk about Venture Workshop in Denver in May. You're coming out and speaking. Is this like your first time speaking at a workshop? What are your thoughts on Venture, and do you have an idea of kind of some of the things you're going to be hitting on?
Yeah. I'm a little intimidated by Venture. I feel unworthy to be there, to be honest. There's just titans there presenting. And so I'm honored, first of all, to be considered by White and Reverie to even be there. I'm just so thankful. I'm so excited. It's my very first time teaching a workshop. I have an online course, Wedding Video Pro, which is a lot easier because you can stop and start and reshoot.
Sure.
But I'm excited. My subjects changed a few times, but I'm really gonna be diving into branding, specifically how I've branded myself. Basically, everything we've talked about for the last half an hour. I'd like to kind of touch on that with the Venture people and talk about branding on and off site, branding in person, branding on Instagram, branding on your website, branding in your communication, which nobody really thinks about, branding in your pricing, just things I've learned from John, basically going to be teaching at Venture. I'm
Good.
really excited.
That's great. I can't wait to hear it.
John, I can't wait to hear you talk at Venture through
me.
Jake.
But it should be good.
I'm really excited, and I will say this: it's a much deeper dive when you get a full week with some of these people. And so, if you're considering, like you said, mentorship, this is another way to get some of that mentorship and make relationships. There's so many people. I shot a wedding in Santa Barbara a month ago, and I hired somebody that I met through Venture to second shoot with me.
Nice.
I see her Instagram, and she's having another person that was at Venture shooting with her at a different wedding in San Diego, and being able to connect with people on a more personal level and hear from people that are doing it. It makes the wedding world so much smaller, and it makes it where the quality of my work has gone up so much just by being in proximity to some of these people, just rubbing elbows. And it's like, wow, how do you do this? How did you do that? Oh, wow, that's great. Because like we were talking about earlier, most people are spending their time only talking to videographers, but what you can do with something like this is you can have this group of people that you talk with, and then you can take it out into the real world where, your friends of your friends don't know who White and Reverie is or who Jake Weisler is or who Wild Oak Films. They just see your films and they're way better, and they're like, oh my goodness. I mean, you just need 20 or 25 people that think that you're the bee's knees.
Right.
Did I just say bee's knees?
You did.
Yeah, I did. Okay. But anyway, I mean, it's one of those deals where getting out, if you're able to get to something like Venture, it's the first week of May. We just had Kaylin on the podcast, and we've had several of the speakers on the podcast. Definitely check out ventureworkshop.co. It'll be a fun time, and Jake is going to be, kind of leading the charge on one of the classes. So I'll be trying to sit in on that one. My little boy growing up.
Man, I'm actually missing my anniversary for it. So
you're bringing your wife to Denver? That's fun.
No, I wish.
No, man. Okay, well, so Venture's happening. Let's see. What's next on the list, Nick?
I think that one of the things that we keep touching on is Jake is super famous when it comes to Instagram.
That is true.
Wow.
He's got thousands and thousands and dozens of thousands of people, dozens of thousands. Sure. Yeah. I don't know. That are following him and hanging out with him on Instagram and all that stuff. So why don't you, I know that Instagram is such a big thing in our industry. People want the big followings, and they want, to get found in their viral videos, however you say that, all of that stuff to happen. So maybe what are some things that you always like to communicate when it comes to Instagram about maybe trying to grow your following or get people to notice you? What are, because I'm sure you get this question a lot, so what are some things that you recommend to help people out in Instagram?
Create teasers. Our industry is just, our attention span, everyone just wants shorter. I think Ray Roman just announced he's stopping his 15 to 20 minute films because people just don't care. They want the teasers, they want the shorter films, they want the highlights, because that's easier to share. It's easier to kind of recap everyone's patience. We have a 7-second attention span nowadays. For me, it's a 0.5-second attention span when I'm scrolling. And so I think for me, migrating towards that and producing great teasers, producing short content, utilizing IGTV, which nobody really does. I know you guys both do. IGTV is huge right now, and Instagram's trying to make it bigger than it is. So they're pushing IGTV over everyone's Explore feed. So uploading to IGTV, chances are you'll get seen by a lot more people. And then also, I just try to be personable. I try to keep my brand consistent across all platforms. By responding to my DMs, by, putting my face on my stories and just talking to my people every now and then, and just, posting quality content consistently, once a week, once every 2 weeks, just to keep people engaged and keep people there. And I'm also trying to do more educational things. So I'll be putting educational things on my stories and on my IGTVs. Instagram's one of those things that if you engage, they'll engage back. It's a two-way street for sure.
Really good.
Yeah, whenever clicking over to, we've talked about Instagram a lot, and as we're kind of looking at 2020, You know, it's like I was posting 2 times a day, every day for years. And that was like what you did. You're supposed to do that. And like and then the algorithm changed, and then the algorithm changed again. And what it comes down to, like what you're saying, is consistent quality content and then engagement. If you check out Jake's Instagram profile, you will see a very consistent look that if a video does pop up on someone's explore feed, or into their, if they follow a specific tag that you've hashtagged the video, if they see that video, if the first 10 seconds of the video is just a drone shot, they're going to scroll on by. But if you watch his videos, the first couple of seconds, Nick talks about this a lot too. The first few shots are some of the best, if not the best shots in the whole film to grab your attention. And they're taking up the whole screen, and they're, there's these little things that if you do them consistently, but like if you're a bride that sees that and you're typing in Utah wedding videographer, and then there's a hashtag, and it's like, oh my goodness, I'm going to click over to Jake's profile. And then what do you know? Like there's all these really good videos. I want to follow him so that way I can see more. Right. And if you're all over the place with the way it's posting and what it looks like, people are just going to scroll on by. I mean, people, like the stats are coming in that like people are following less and less people because they want to show that they have way bigger of a following than they do follow people. And so like it takes a lot for someone to follow you. And so there's just a lot that comes into like having, and Nick says it all the time about content being king, where it's like your content has to be legit. And it doesn't mean that your 1-minute teaser or whatever that you're putting on your IGTV is the only thing you're delivering. But if you're reverse engineering it and thinking about the end user, it's like, I got to give them something that they want to continue watching.
Yeah. Right. And I learned that from Kaylor. Kaylor Ficklin, she only posts teasers. She does like 80 to 100 weddings a year. She's a monster. But she'll post a teaser of every wedding, and it's their whole wedding day in 60 seconds. And so when you go to her feed, you just get a taste of what she can do, and you fall in love with it, and you want more because it's so short, it's so quick. And that's the point of Instagram for me. The point of Instagram is to drive people to my website, drive people to my contact form, drive people to my inbox, right? And so if you're just posting random videos on there, posting weird things, that doesn't sell your brand. You don't expect a big following and don't expect a lot of inquiries from Instagram, because now it's just kind of like a second priority, and people just kind of go there to, see things as opposed to go there to be sold. And there's different ways to utilize Instagram, but I try to leave my viewers and my followers wanting more, wanting to go to my price sheets, wanting to get me whatever I cost.
Yeah. We know the time suck that is searching for the perfect song for your wedding film. MusicBed has spent years collaborating with artists, bands, and composers to make it easier than ever for anyone to find the right song for their video.
With amazing artists like Chapters, Tony Anderson, and The Light, The Heat, MusicBed is the best place for wedding videographers to get licensed music.
Their subscription service was a life changer for me, especially since all of their subscription music is pre-cleared for every social media platform: Facebook, Instagram, Love Stories TV, and my personal favorite, YouTube, all pre-cleared.
And if you are interested in a free month of a MusicBed wedding subscription, head over to howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed. When you sign up, use the promo code HTFW and you will get your first month for free. And you are doing a really good job of that by, running a really well curated Instagram, and you're saying you're booking a majority of your weddings through that, even these higher end ones. And so if you are branding yourself correctly and you are doing things with a purpose in mind, then it will work, and it will definitely pay off. One thing that the more that I do this, the more I learn and I experience. I would watch videos a long time ago and I would think, man, how did they capture that bird sound, when the bird flew by? Or how did they, get these different things in it, and I've learned, they are adding that stuff in post, adding in sound effects, adding in overlays. And one thing that you have recently put together is a light leap pack. And I know that
Yeah.
for those of you that don't know, you're like, well, what is a light leak pack? Well, it's like kind of like sun rays and like that kind of thing that's actually an overlay on top. But if you do it correctly,
Right.
it looks like a reveal or something comes in. So why don't you talk a little bit about your
Sure.
light leak pack? And I know that you actually created them, yourself. So talk through that whole process. And
Yes.
then if people are interested in purchasing those, where can they go get that?
Sure. Yeah. Let me kind of tell you where it stemmed from. That first wedding I did, one of my proudest 10-minute films, my very first 10-minute film, I think, I sent to John, John again. And he said, loved it. It was great. It was missing sound design. And I was like, you're totally right. It lacked sound design. And I think the bigger thing I took away from his feedback was depth. It lacked another layer of depth that nobody might notice, but we noticed it, and it added the punch. And so now I am spending more time sound designing, and along with that is light hits, so light leaks, light flares, whatever. They just add depth. If you're using them too much, they distract from the video, which I see a lot. But they should be used to enhance your video and add some depth, add some kind of angelic mystery, if you will. So one of my buddies created this company, cinemaflares.com, and he created a light leak pack kind of for action pack stuff. And I was like, I want to create a pack for wedding filmmakers. I have a few. I'm not really impressed with a lot of them. And so I thought it'd be fun to kind of create my own light hit pack, light flare pack, light leak pack. And it's called the Jake Weisler Wedding Collection. And you can get it at cinemaflares.com. I'll send you guys the link. And essentially, I think it's 25 different color of light leaks. I invented some cool new ones with like rainbow effects that I've been using in a lot of my videos. If you want to check out my website, you'll see them in my latest videos. And yeah, they just kind of add that depth that we're looking for. Some shots are just flat, some shots are just kind of two-dimensional. So adding a little bit of a flare in the corner or adding a little bit of a pretty aura around the couple makes it more dreamy, kind of makes it more like a fantasy, if you will, kind of that magical vibe. So yeah, I'm really proud of it, and we've been doing great. A lot of people are loving it and using it. It's fun to see them pop up everywhere now. So yeah, cinemaflares.com, the Jake Weisler Wedding Collection.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
There's definitely it's really cool to watch Jake from, being in his third year of business and going and taking the step into full time, doing this, and then continually, reaching out. And I was going to say too, Jake's reached out a lot, but it's never been in an annoying way that felt like, hey, I need something from you. And he's really good at just, hey, if you get a minute, I'd love for you to check this out. And I'd love, and after we did the podcast and exchanged, info and just kind of kept in touch, it's there are a lot of people out there that would give you a lot of information for a cup of coffee, or for,
right.
It's just reaching out. Obviously some of us get a lot of messages, but just people that you respect in your sphere, or someone that you saw online or in these groups, just reaching out and saying, hey, what are you doing here? I was always embarrassed to ask people. I felt like I just had to have my crap together 100%. I couldn't have any holes in my business. I couldn't, and it's when Nick first reached out to me talking, the reason we have this podcast, I reached out to Nick to shoot with me saying I wanted to do some educational stuff. He made a tutorial, and I was like, how did you do that? I need that. And then we shot a wedding together, and I was talking to him about what I was charging, and he was like, how did you do that? And we were vulnerable with each other, saying, well, if I can help you with this and you can help me with this, we'd get better. And it was like, wow, this is actually what the wedding industry needs, is more of this. And so watching your business grow over the last, year or so of knowing you, and your consistency in being self-aware, you're aware that, oh, this is missing something, you can take a criticism. A lot of times in our Facebook group, if I leave some feedback, the response is, yeah, but this is why this and it's okay, that's fine. This is just my feedback.
They missed the point, though. Yeah.
And so, instead of taking it personally, Jake's like, yeah, you're right. I can, if you're seeing it that way, that is, yeah, I'll take that and I'll make it better. And so, as we're wrapping up, I guess my question is just, Do you have any more, like any final tips for somebody that is wanting to reach out to somebody, ways that you've done it, how you've gotten in touch with people? What's been the best way that you've been able to just connect with so many people and get those mentorship type things?
The key is to not be annoying. Gosh, I get so bugged by people online and on Instagram, and I know I'm not perfect, but I lose it because some people, they just want you to spoon feed them. They think that if you give them the magic answer, their wedding films will instantly change. Like, oh, what equipment do you use, or what's your setting for this, or like, what's this. I'm like, even if you apply to everything I'm about to tell you, your videos wouldn't improve. Because you're missing the bigger picture. The fact that you're asking certain questions shows me you're missing something. So instead of approaching someone and starting off your relationship on a I need you basis, start off as a networking experience. Get to know them, compliment their work, show them that you're interested in them, and that you appreciate them as a leader in the industry, and that you love learning from their videos. And then just don't let every single message be like, what's your shutter speed at? What's your Kelvin at? What camera do you use? Like, what's the best this? What's the best lens? I'm like, there's no such thing as a best lens, idiots.
I'm laughing because I get so many messages a week of people. There's two kinds of messages. There's the ones that are just like, dude, I'm so impressed with you and your podcast and your work. You're so awesome. I just wanted to say thanks. Like that's a message, like just a thank you. And then there's I got a message a few weeks back, and I literally, if you're watching this on YouTube, I had to go 1, 2, 3, 4 on how long and detailed the specific question was. I showed my wife, and I was like, I can't answer this. Like, I'd have to charge $200 to answer this.
Oh,
yeah. Be respectful of people's time, especially like people like us three who are in education, where we do sell our information. I think it is rude for people to just expect us to send them novels and books about how we do things,
right?
Who aren't willing to kind of look around and kind of go on YouTube and see what we already have, go on our courses, go on our podcast. You know what I mean? So be smart. Don't be an annoying idiot. Be professional, and do your research, and then apply what you learn. My favorite question, oh my gosh, I could go on forever, is when someone says, "Hey Jake, bought this camera, is it good?" Well, you tell me. Like, you own it. I don't own the Nikon G whatever. You own it. You just spent a lot of money on it. So you tell me if it's good. Can you produce good videos with it? Can you do good work? Well, that's why I'm asking you, Jake. Well, I've never used it. Well, I just thought since you're a videographer, I'm like, you're missing the point, bro. Go out and work and find out your answer, and then come to me and tell me if it's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think the problem is we're wanting to be spoon-fed, and a lot of my followers and people in general who are trying to learn aren't applying. They're just spending all day on Facebook, all day trying to ask people questions, and spending very little time out in the field, and that needs to change.
So one of the things that you said that really stood out, you were talking about like reaching out to people and complimenting them and giving them, so if you're going to reach out to somebody, instead of just straight up like, here's my problem, I'd like to take this dump and put it onto your lap, is instead of doing that, it's, hey, I just wanted to reach out and thank you for you do great. I don't have anything. I just wanted to, like, just a simple buffer message where you tell somebody that they're awesome and just thanks. Like, I'll respond to that message 9 times out of 10 over a message, that's just like this big, massive problem that's just, a lot of work. So now whenever I see your name or your bubble, every time I think about you, I think, this person has a problem they want me to fix, instead of, hey, this is a person that I could actually, and Jake and I have been able to, if his first question to me back when was, hey, help me do this, instead of just like, dude, I'm really a big fan of your podcast or your work, or, like just being a normal person to be, like, we are people. And so it's like, we have wives and kids and families. And so like, if you want to reach out to somebody, like, just do it in a way that you'd want to be reached out to, is what it comes down to.
Amen.
Cool. So
amen.
As we're wrapping up, man, that was really good advice. I mean, it's kind of funny, but it was really good advice. As we're wrapping up on time here, if someone doesn't follow you, doesn't know, that stuff, and they like to, where can they follow you?
Instagram / Jake Weisler films with an S. That's I'm engaged on there. I'll talk back to you. You can DM me. I'll respond within hopefully a day or two. So yeah, I'd love to have you guys follow me on Instagram. I'd love it.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming back on our podcast. As we were talking beforehand, you are the first like solo person to get like a dedicated, episode that's not like a live Q&A or something like that. Like you're special, I guess.
He's back.
They call me JWF, the regular. So remember it.
That's what they call him. No, seriously, thank you so much for being on. Like, it's so cool, like, to see and watch you grow. It'll be fun to have you back on and see what you're doing, in 6 to 8 months' time. Everybody out there, definitely check him out. So thank you so much, Jake, for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you guys. Nick and John, I learned so much from you. This podcast is just one of the highlights of my weeks, my months. And for everyone watching this one, go watch previous ones. There's so much good content. If you're wanting a mentorship, this podcast is an incredible place to start and a great place to learn, but then go out and apply what these guys teach, because let me testify to you that it works, and I've seen it work and help me scale my business. So thank you guys for all you're doing. Appreciate it a lot.
There you have it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, Jake, thank you so much for coming on the podcast this week. We really appreciate all of the things you say, your wisdom that you shared. Thank you so much. If you're listening to this, we want you to head over to howtofilmweddings.com. Jake talked a lot about, upping your brand and elevating your business and being very professional and all that stuff in all sorts of your business. We highly recommend our email template pack that we have. Those emails will help you become more efficient in your time, but also be more professional whenever you are communicating with your clients. If you're watching this video on YouTube, I don't know, I got like a little frog in my throat here all of a sudden. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. Leave us a review on whatever podcatcher you listen to. And until next time, we will see you.
See ya.